Going to be jumping straight into the draft powered by Omen and HyperX, and already the Yone and the Twisted Fate going to be taken off the board. The Pantheon on the side of BLG. Kobe, we were just talking about it. Talia likely going to be high on the priority. Will Gwen continue to make its way onto the ban table when these two top laners are in play?
Yeah, let's get down to it. Jungle follows up here, so the Talia is, to me, the biggest one hanging. Very, very potent champion at the moment, and FLYQUEST and Quad, I feel like, would not hesitate to first pick if BLG leave it up.
All right, let's see what that last ban here is. Not surprised at all to see FLYQUEST opening with two mid bans, targeting Knight on BLG, targeting that star player that they're going to have to find solutions for throughout this match. Renekton will be the final ban in the first half here for BLG. Plenty of options open for Fly.
And I actually do respect that. I think that's a smart ban versus FLYQUEST, because FLYQUEST are on blue side here, and so Bwipo is probably going to have to blind pick something, and Renekton, to me, is his very best blind pick. He can, of course, play Scion or any number of other things, but I really feel like he has had so much success on that champion. So that's what we're talking about, though. If the Talia is up and hanging, that is going to be a first pick for sure.
Yeah, we've been seeing these globals, these semi-globals be very effective throughout the tournament. Talia open, Talia first picked.
This is one of the biggest things I was looking at as well. This is an 11-0 Neeko for On. He is undefeated on this champion in his career. This is a huge, huge pick for the bottom lane, because Vedius, that means your bottom lane, assuming it goes into On's hands, is going to be very aggressive and can get pushing power.
Well, that was the point that I was going to make, is that Knight is very well known for his Neeko. And so the fact that they can flex it into the mid lane as well gives them that extra bit of flexibility in the draft. We'll see what direction they go as the Ezreal gets locked in for Marso. I know a lot of North American fans have been eager to see him on that carry position. He has been a fantastic standout player for FLYQUEST, and we've seen some scary Ezreals at this tournament. We'll see if Marso can have that kind of performance, as Busio is going to be pairing alongside it with the Karma.
I kind of like this because, even if it is Flex Neeko staring down that pick, they're like, we are going to get some poke for our lane. We are going to get some pushing power. Of course, it definitely means that Bwipo is probably going to get some sort of frontline hard engage for the team to round it out, and the AD fighter jungle for Inspired. So FLYQUEST kind of locked in the direction that they're going.
Yep, definitely hoping to see some engage potential here from the remaining two picks for FLYQUEST, since right now they've got a lot of range, they've got plenty of poke and damage, but just not really any of that front line like you're talking about. Final pick for BLG before the second half of the bans roll in will be the Misfortune. So we're going to see the mid laner plus bot duo for FLYQUEST, the jungler plus AD carry, and again, Vedius, like you were talking about, the flex potential of the Neeko. Do they take it mid against the Talia? Are they going to run it bottom? We'll only be able to tell here, of course, once we get past these next set of bans, as Trundle will be the next ban from BLG.
When you see a Trundle ban, your expectations are that a tank champion is going to be coming out in the near future, but still, very good matchup into the Xin. They want to respect that possibility. BLG, I'm expecting them to continue to pinch that jungle pool. The question is, what direction are they thinking of removing?
And maybe, Vedius, like you're saying, if they're banning Trundle here, then maybe they want to blind pick the Scion for Bin and save their, mid lane / flex pick there until Red 5.
Though, because you expect the mid lane response to come through from FLYQUEST. But what's super interesting to me is FLYQUEST themselves are continuing to pinch that topside pool. They recognize that in the hands of Bin, this Gwen can be very scary, and for FLYQUEST, they're likely going to have to blind pick something safe. Potentially a Scion for themselves, a Cassante also a possibility, something that can give them a little bit more, of a front line on the top side of the map, because as you were saying, Flowers, both sides neither really with that true tank as of yet.
Yep, double topside bans from FLYQUEST in the second half of the draft, double jungle bans from BLG. Gwen and Ambessa both kept away from Bin's reach here in the first game, with the Wukong banned alongside that Trundle. Now for BLG, what do we want to see here? Do you want to give away if that Neeko is a flex pick or not? Or do you want to give the potential for counter pick in top lane over to Bwipo? They're sitting on this one for a while, and it looks like BLG is going to swap at the last second and lock the Scion.
All right, so the Trundle ban opening it up here to steal away what clearly FLYQUEST wanted, because FLYQUEST, with their, banning away the Gwen and everything, this might throw them through a loop a little bit, but Bwipo has a very, very deep set of counter pick champions. Let's see how much you want to cook.
That's disrespectful. Okay.
Dude, that's legit. Okay, so how have you felt about the Aatrox's answers? Because to me, yes, the Aatrox did get the extra healing and can, you know, like sustain off of a Scion lane, but it, to me, hasn't had that big impact thus far. I have yet to see this real, like, big value out of, you know, Aatrox into tank lanes where you want to come in as this big juggernaut. Maybe with a Karma on the team, it gets more likely there. We'll see about the value though. I feel like Scion is just always so good because you are a massive frontline tank for your team and provide this huge engage potential.
I very much agree. I think the logic is that. Saw that casting hover for a second. I very much agree in that Aatrox, I think, just gets kind of like a free laning phase to scale up into the Scion, and the big impact comes in teamfights, and that's why I will be keeping my eyes on Bwipo. We've seen him have monstrous teamfight impact before. In game 1, can he look to do the same thing? And quote-unquote immobile AD carry in the form of Misfortune that plants herself down when she throws out that ultimate. Core capabilities of this roster is something that is hard to predict, but we know that that ceiling is exceptionally high. If you get down in the mud with them, that is where they love to brawl. Patience, control, and discipline is what we need to see from FlyQuest so that they don't play BLG's game.
I 100% agree, Vedius, and the numbers really do back it up. When you look at the kills and assists early on for BLG, the combined kills per minute in their games, they like to fight early and often. And so the best response a lot of times, and a response that we have seen FlyQuest utilize versus other aggressive teams, is to do cross-map plays and to choose your moment wisely when you do actually want to take the fight.
All right, we're on to the Rift. Game number 1 here. Let's see how we started off, as it looks like both junglers going to be happy just to sit around their own sides of the top half of the Rift. You can see FlyQuest did get down that very standard chicken ward on Beishuan's Raptor camp, and you can see them also placing down a defensive ward on their own. This bottom lane, though, with the Ezreal Karma, the power of the range and the poke, but also MF and Nico, no slouches.
And look how Busio is moving up here between the minion line to try and weave some through as they fight for the early push.
Now, Kobe, something you were saying just a moment ago was that BLG like to fight. They're one of the most aggressive teams that we've seen so far here at MSI, and we have some of the stats to support that. When we kind of look at the team fight KD and how often this team actually gets involved in the bloodiness, we'll see that it's the second highest throughout the entirety of the MSI. When they were going up against T1, these two teams were tied at the top. But the combined kills per minute, second place. Kills at 14, second place. Deaths at 14, fifth. They do die a lot, but they're getting a lot of kills in exchange.
And notice that FlyQuest went much more controlled in the early 14 minutes, not dying nearly as often. So anyways, we'll take a look at the jungle paths as both of them are headed down towards that bottom lane that we have been hyping up. Although Inspired here on the Sejuani is slightly ahead. Yeah. Nico, of course, all the extra vision tools always available with this champion. That is why Nico is so prevalent still down here, even after some of the damage has been taken out.
Yeah, the Nico clone just becomes an absolute menace as the game goes on with a little bit of ability haste. It just feels like you're firing those out constantly to look for vision, give your team that extra little bit of an edge. Both junglers now finishing up on their clears. You can see Beishuan a little bit slower compared to Inspired as he's still putting the work in, getting that last little bit of that blue quadrant completed. Checking in on the mid lane. For FlyQuest, I think you're expecting a lot of damage control from Quad, trying to make sure that Knight can't have the pop-off performance that BLG wants him to have. And I like the fact that you mentioned FlyQuest having the more controlled early game, Kobe, because I think while in general that's true, Bwipo likes to get spicy early on, and he is trading into Ben up here as we take a look at it, but Ben is still plenty healthy.
Yeah, I seem to remember a Mordekaiser counter pick into a certain Yorick that got very dangerous, but Inspired is here.
Inspired's here, and Bwipo's already got the passive heal. Goes for the Q2. A little bit more damage is all they need. The stun is there. Q3 first blood for Bwipo and FlyQuest.
This is what we expected to see based on what we saw in the draft. By rounding out with the Sejuani, the passive synergizes nicely with the Aatrox, and getting this Aatrox ahead is much needed in the matchup.
And that was a no-base Sejuani. Basejuan now on bottom side, though.
Yeah, Basejuan wants to find some impact on the other side of the map. Busio flashes over. Basejuan's ready to follow. Busio's got the shield to keep himself protected. Basejuan's going deep underneath the turret. A third shot's going to fire out, and Basejuan's down to 150 HP. A little bit of protection from On as he tries to make sure that his jungler is able to get away. The Mystic shot missed, and Inspired stops him just in time. Basejuan's already used his summoner spells, and Inspired sends him packing. A delayed 1-for-1 trade on the BLG gank bottom, as Inspired still looks for more. Masu moving forward, wants to find a little bit more damage here, but he's completely out of mana. There's no more Mystic shots.
That was so close on the timing there, actually finding the interrupt. And I was going to point out on the top side play, since Inspired, as we were mentioning, actually did a top down to bottom clear, he then, without basing, had walked all the way up. So that's why it really did surprise Bin a bit on that timing. And now Inspired goes back for a bit of a reverse clear here to his respawned Raptors.
So we expected FlyQuest to play a more measured early game, and here they are starting off game one with a 2-kill lead. 5 minutes in, a small advantage to their name, and we look back at this bot side play. Busio plays this about as well as he can. He gets collapsed on by Basejuan. The flash knockup comes through from Basejuan, but then the shield at the last second comes through from Busio, and Basejuan saying, nah, I'm not letting you get away without, I'm securing this kill for sure. He commits to the base. The Q from Masu doesn't quite connect, but then Inspired, using the W, is able to spot out the jungler and turns it in a 2-for-1.
All right, so as we we can already get very excited here, but as we get back to live, another leash, and the root does land.
Yeah, the mantra Q to follow it up, and Masu is in hot pursuit. Elk in full retreat, as On's going to eat a lot of damage on the back end of things as well. Feat of Warfare claimed. Masu and Busio get the 2v2 kill.
This FlyQuest bottom lane is continuing to pop off. The fact that summoners were used earlier on to commit to those kills, the FlyQuest duo commit to a fight, and they secure themselves that Feat of Warfare 3 kills.
Yeah, just straight running them down after the summoner spells were blown in the previous exchange down there, using that root, chasing them down, and even with On blocking there, they find the kill on him instead, and that is more meaningful money than, of course, the little extra kill that Inspired got onto the Sejuani, but now the Ezreal here also going to be accelerated. On reset, though, for BLG, after those kills, they will get their consolation prize of the Dragon.
Good awareness there by BLG to recognize that they could just actually go straight towards the Dragon, and FlyQuest not really in a position to contest. On the top side of the map, you can see that Bin is developing a bit of a CS advantage, but securing that plate will basically put the gold dead even. When we kind of look at the bottom of your screen, there is a lot of blue. Busio, not really in any danger, uses the shield to mitigate the double up coming through from Elk. But in terms of gold, it seems very even across the board, but Inspired's looking to change that level 6 on the Sejuani.
Exactly, the Glacial Prison is ready to fire. As long as it's not blocked by a Nico clone, they're going to be in a real good spot. On is already down, and the prison finds its way onto Elk. Now he's got the cleanse, so we can walk away from that one. But the summoner spell's gone, and so is On. FlyQuest 4-1 lead.
This focus on the bottom lane is paying off so heavily for FlyQuest, and we should take a moment to talk about that bottom lane, because these young North American stars here really have been such a hopeful story in the LTA. Both Busio and Masu coming through the Tier 2 league, through Academy, winning the most valuable prospect when they were there, and then still finding success when they make the big transition into Tier 1 is a very rare thing. And Masu even winning Rookie of the Year in his first year previously as well. And so a lot of people so hyped up for that duo.
I remember the disappointment and frustration from FlyQuest last year at MSI, being knocked out in the play-ins, but the glow-up that they've had since then with the push to 5 games against Gen G, and now here at MSI representing the best team in the West. Now the collapse from Knight sets his sights onto Bwipo.
Knight looking for the FlyQuest top laner. Bwipo using the World Ender to get a little bit of extra space as Beishwan goes in. Masu under pressure now. BLG's jungler with a ton of damage. The Tangle Barbs follow it up. And Beishwan is doing a lot of work with On right behind him. Busio's got to try to get away next. Nice stun from Inspired, looking to protect his support as Beishwan and On continue applying the pressure. Knight's arrived, and he buries Busio in the weirding. 2 free kills for BLG.
The Aurora, the extra damage they need, and BLG strike back so quickly, and this is right with grubs available, so they're also going to get the grubs.
Nice play from BLG. You have to respect the fact that this team wants to contest these neutral objectives. A nice interrupt is going to come. Oh, I stand corrected. Doesn't quite connect. But a base has to come through from Elk because he realizes that he is on the weak side of the map. But his team is securing these neutrals. First dragon of the game, the grub's now secured. The kills pretty much evened out, and that goal difference non-existent.
Important thing to note, Elk did just use the ulti to clear that wave, so Inspired couldn't dive in. But here is how BLG found their picks on FlyQuest in the river.
Yeah, early vision control on that brush and getting to the play quicker. Big props there for Beishwan and On finding it. And after that first kill, since we already looked at the rotation from Knight, you see the Aurora on the minimap, they already knew that they could push for more on FlyQuest here, and Knight using his ultimate, able to get the burst damage. Phidias, we have seen Auroras, especially this tournament, get so fed so quickly and put a lot of threat on your carries.
I mean, this is the thing that Knight does so well, regardless of how his laning phase goes. The moment that he's allowed to leave it, he's very good at finding those advantages, and sitting on a kill right now has a gold lead over Quad. He's going to be a problem regardless of what game he is in. BLG keeping the game even, but the dragon spawning in a minute 30, we imagine that BLG will be setting their sights on that objective.
And that's what a lot of BLG's game plan is going to look like. You know, the Nico and the Aurora that we mentioned in Champ Select having so much playmaking ability, them looking for flanks, looking to lock people down. And here we go. Rotation over to the bottom side. Plenty of control wards set up through the river as well. 100 international games played. For Elk, congratulations there. I heard some cheers in the crowd as well.
I mean, a veteran now for BLG, a long-standing player that's recognized internationally as one of the top 80 carries in the world. We'll see if he can continue BLG's MSI run, as FlyQuest have been doing a really good job in the bot lane 2 versus 2. Now that bot lane has made their way mid to fight over this wave. It's Fly that gets priority over the lane for now. Beishwan isolated in the river. Knight with some quick wave clear on the bot side of the map. Beishwan is hovering.
Inspired also down here in the bottom lane. Both junglers wanting to hang around this area, covering for their mid laners as they try to get the waves pushed out. This game is very close in terms of gold. A slight edge for FlyQuest overall. But remember that BLG have achieved both neutral objectives here in the early game with the first Drake and all 3 grubs. Elk gonna make sure he gets out of the maximum range there of the Mantra Q from Busio. There's only 15 seconds left on the Drake spawn. Nice little chunk of damage there onto Elk from Masu. But Masu's very low on mana going into this fight. BLG, they recognize that, and they've already sent the squad here into the river. Knight and Beishwan and On all together. I almost said Knight and Knight because of the damn Nico, but now we'll see if BLG can maintain enough control to secure this objective, or if FlyQuest will be able to walk up and try to challenge. Busio, Inspired, and Quad all walking over. Masu's still in mid, but the Ezreal is almost completely out of mana. There's very, very little that he can try to contribute to this, as now On's going to use the Pop Blossom, lock up Inspired, but it's a one-man Nico ulti. Now On's about to die. Inspired, throwing the Glacial Prison backwards. Beishwan's about to drop, and he falls instead of his own ultimate. Now On still able to get himself away as Ben and Bwipo join the fight. Knight has to continue his retreat, and Bwipo's still chasing. FlyQuest get 1 kill, and it's on the enemy jungler. Now the dragon, still leashed from earlier, goes their way too.
Inspired taking the initiative to take over that critical brush right there and make the early move while the dragon was getting taken.
Inspired just did everything. In that fight, he walked up and he said, "That dragon belongs to me, BLG, and I don't care what you do about it, I'm going to try and take it from you." He picks a fight with On, he respects the engage from Bid, he navigates all all of that while also getting a kill onto Beishuan, and he works with Quad beautifully. So look at the positioning. You were just highlighting this, Kobe. First, he just turns his attention onto the support. On is forced to ulti early. Then BLG think, let's turn our attention onto Inspired because we know that the Sion is TPing in. But working with Quad, who's getting so much damage down onto Beishuan, they turn that kill into the initial jungle. That flash was just perfectly timed, gets him away to safety, and FlyQuest flawlessly secure a kill and a dragon.
That brush is just so critical to all of these objective fights, getting there early, and as you say, Quad throwing all the rocks into the enemy jungler. As we reset back out onto the map as well, we get some early pushing here from FlyQuest. Again, trying to push in all 3 lanes to keep that pressure up.
Okay, 195 stacks on Masu's tier, so about halfway towards getting that one all the way done. Does have his Trinity Force power spike now as well, so this Ezreal, very, very strong. Bloodthirster completed for the Misfortune, but generally Trinity Force is considered that big one-item spike compared to almost any other first item completion in the game. 14 minutes hits the clock, turret plates are down, and you can see Bwipo putting in the work in bottom lane, trying to clear out the first turret, but Knight arrives in time to get rid of the wave before he can complete the job. It's still about a 1,000 gold lead here for FlyQuest, but BLG maintained their advantage on the grubs, and we've only got 45 seconds until the Rift Herald spawns next.
Yeah, and meanwhile on the other side, Elk here with the BT rush, that very common rush for Misfortune, so that you can use your mid priority here and just keep on leeching up off the minions, lifesteal after lifesteal after lifesteal, and then try and strut to some of those plays on the side objectives. On the bottom side of the map though, pushing in fairly heavily there for Knight. Of course, Bwipo has some options here. He does opt to cancel the recall and just catch the wave.
And I want to comment really quickly on Bin's itemization. You can see that he went for the early Bramble Vest to deal with the Aatrox, but then overall he went for Hollow Radiance, an MR item, as his first big completion because he knows his job is going to be answering Quad in the side lane since they both have the ultimates to be able to join the bigger fights more easily.
Plus, we're going to see Aurora continue pushing on bot side, and that pressure does matter because those are kind of the mismatched teleports for solo lanes. It's Bwipo that has to answer because his teleport is available to be able to come answer the top side, but it does mean, as we see a minion wave right now dying on the minimap on the bottom side of the tower, some small advantages for BLG there.
The TP has to come through. The positioning is quite awkward for BLG, but Bin on the sound can force his way in. Knight by his side to provide that damage, but Knight's been chipped away at thanks to Masu's poke. Remember, we said in the draft, FlyQuest have a lot of poke at their disposal. They need to play patient. That was a scary situation there for Quad, but BLG have regained control.
Oh, nice seismic shove there onto Bin, but remember, he is very tanky against that magic damage, but not the physical follow-up. Masu putting a ton of damage into him, but all goes in! Bullet time over the top! And FlyQuest evaporate a beautiful combo from the BLG bot lane duo to instantly win the fight. Busio has to flash away now as he and Inspire try to retreat. Bwipo goes in, Inspire tries to follow, but FlyQuest may have overplayed their hand. Bwipo wants a little bit more. Busio doesn't have the firepower to secure any kind of a kill. FlyQuest still scrapping back here as Bwipo continues chasing BLG away, but it's still 2 dead FlyQuest players, and BLG controls the topside river.
And it all came down to On's Nico right there off the control ward. What an engage for him. As you said, Vedius, FlyQuest were paying with patience. They were poking away, but then as soon as On gets the Nico engage with the flash, they make good on their kills.
I think BLG overstayed their welcome though. Fishing for more kills means that the respawn had already come through. Now we see, this is the engage that happens. This is effectively a 3 versus 5 at the moment. They get good damage onto Bin, but then they commit a lot onto Bin thinking they can kill him. In this narrow choke point, On finds the angle to get the 2-man knockup. You combine this with the Wombo combo, and BLG just nuke the bottom lane of FlyQuest. Busio is forced to retreat. But the Herald still alive for now as BLG set their sights on the Bwipo.
Bwipo's got to try to get out of this one, but a 1v3, it doesn't seem likely. Beishuan, Bin, and Knight have more than enough damage to take care of this target, but On's going to show up for the Tangle Barbs just to guarantee it. BLG get kill number 6.
I was worried for BLG because, again, I thought that they'd overcommitted because they were forced to reset, and the FlyQuest reset back out onto the map, and they could have started the Herald. Instead, they just looked to get control of the waves. Bwipo gets picked on the top side, and now they have numbers advantage on the Herald.
Yeah, they're teleporting Quad in right now, so Taliyah coming with the wall.
Beautiful engage coming out there from Inspire, though. Beishuan almost dead here at the very start of the fight, but he does manage to get enough distance until Masu shifts over the wall to take him down. Now Bin's got to try to run, but he's stunned up by the Sejuani yet again. Masu and Quad putting the bullets into Bin's back, and Quad gets another kill. A seismic shove after, but it's only a Nico clone as Elk and Knight and On are the only ones left standing for BLG. The Herald is still alive, and FlyQuest are starting the objective.
And Vedias, we saw the ramifications of those timing windows you were talking about, because that resulted in the bot tower going down and the teleport coming from quad. They still haven't been able to finish the objective, but they should do so while collecting the wave here. So this is going to be a big swing back in favor of FlyQuest. And I feel your initial instincts were correct.
I mean, I was worried that FlyQuest would get trapped in the BLG style of play where it's just brawl into brawl, skirmish into skirmish, which is the type of play that BLG thrive in, but they're matching the pressure. They're not afraid to go and skirmish, and it's because they know they have the poke in their back pocket to dish out onto BLG. Now, though, we don't have time to slow down. The Dragon is alive. Knight is going to secure that top tower. Whippo is going to try and answer, so maybe he doesn't quite secure this objective yet, but with another objective on the map, both teams are going to set their sights on it.
Whippo trying to maintain the distance there to not get hit by that Snap Aurora combo, but still Knight finding him there with the skill shots as FlyQuest will immediately use the Herald mid lane. Now Elk can use bullet time to just instantly clear out the entirety of the wave, but there's still the Herald ready to crash into the turret. Remember, they don't have any grubs, so you're not going to get a whole lot of extra value by driving it in there, as Knight is still trying to take down this tier 1 turret here in the top lane. Whippo goes in for the World Ender, wants to challenge Knight, Q2 to try to stop him as he hops away. Knight goes between worlds and manages to get himself away to safety in the river. That's 2 ultimates down, 1 on either side. Inspired going in after Beishwan, chasing after the Xin Zhao as On fires Tangle Barbs backwards, trying to slow down Quad as Beishwan escapes with an audacious charge over the wall to the red buff.
Skirmish after skirmish. I feel like there was a big window for FlyQuest to just force the Dragon there, because we saw Elk use his ulti, we saw Knight use his ulti, but then FlyQuest instead say, you know what, let's just go for a fight instead. They look for a collapse on a base run, but they can't quite convert it into a kill. FlyQuest are putting so much pressure down onto BLG right now, but BLG still walk away with the top tower and have somehow reclaimed the gold lead.
And they've started up the Dragon here. Bin, the mega tank, starting it out, rotating over. It looks like they do have the teleport option for Knight, so even though Knight doesn't have his ultimate, he could teleport in.
Yeah, Inspired jumps over the wall with a blast cone, but he only finds the remains of the Drake as BLG have completed the objective. FlyQuest won't be there in time to try to get anything back. So BLG, good plays there, good decision making, as Inspired still looking to grab a little bit more. Pushing forward, Whippo's right behind him, but BLG, still, they've got plenty of distance. They got the Dragon done fast enough that the retreat is easy and safe.
I will say the game, it is getting very chaotic, and the consequences for FlyQuest is that BLG are just managing their lane assignments better. Elk has managed to build a 40 CS lead over Marsu. He's got 2 levels up on him right now. Marsu with another wave will be able to close that level gap a bit, but Knight on the side lane as well. He's sitting at a 20 CS lead, and that's just given them both individually a pretty significant gold advantage.
I think one of the biggest determining factors is not going to show on the scoreboard in this game. I think it is going to be the vision, because BLG, they really want to play flanks with Knight and On, even Bins possibly here with the Sion to find their big engage. But FlyQuest, like you say, they want to play a little bit slowly so they can find a little bit of value out of their poke damage. And Sejuani being this non-committal engage, choosing the moment to lock someone down who did get poked out and whittled down a little bit low. So keeping track of that vision on your side so that you don't get a huge Nico or Aurora flank towards the back line could be critical.
All right, still 7-6 in terms of kills. Gold just dead even. Vedias, you were talking about the leads built by Knight and Elk. On the other side, the leads for FlyQuest are on Inspired, and Whippo is actually the single largest individual gold lead in the game here on the Aatrox. So Kobe, you were talking back in draft about how we haven't really seen this buffed Aatrox really have the raid boss moment yet. If there's a game to do it, this could be that game. If Whippo can find a massive performance in one of these upcoming fights, that could be what really breaks things open.
Yeah, let's see it. He's got a Karma on his team, so Busio can help out with some of the mobility as well, really speed him up and get chase down angles. But we're looking at a possible pincer here. Mid lane priority for FlyQuest as they try and move in.
Okay, TP coming in. We'll see. You've already got On in the control ward inside the pit. Whippo's gonna be the front line here. There's your Pop Blossom, but it only finds the tanks. A lot of damage there with Whippo as he flashes back over the wall with the bullet time. Looking to cut him down a little lower. Quad fires back. Inspired's on a rampage, and On's already down. Elk and Knight firing into Inspired as Ben has to flash away. Knight wants to go between worlds, but Inspired's dancing all around him. Whippo on the front line as Quad gets another kill, and BLG are falling to pieces. Masu kills Elk, and Knight goes over the wall. Ben's dead body won't get anything, and FlyQuest just killed 3 for nothing.
A huge team fight win for FlyQuest as they weather the engage from BLG. They thought that they'd set up a trap. Inspired and Whippo on the front line. They thought to themselves, we can just melt them before the fight even starts. But they didn't actually have the damage.
I'm becoming a believer in the Aatrox. Let's take a look at it. As you say, On from the brush with the control ward does lock up the front line at first, but Whippo, look at him. He flashes and dashes away. He gets his Steric shield, and he's fine. Meanwhile, on the other side of it, they already take care of the Nico kill and then draw them back. So Knight just gets the ultimate onto Expired, the tank here. He doesn't care, while the rest of FlyQuest deal with BLG.
I mean, Flowers, you called Whippo the raid boss, Inspired is the raid boss.
The fight is good. I think they both might be bosses in the same raid for BLG on this one. Important to note too, Kobe, you mentioned it, but Whippo had just purchased the Sterix right before he teleported into that fight. It was an absolutely critical break point to allow him to survive and FlyQuest to win that fight. If he didn't have the gold lead he did, it wouldn't have worked. Inspired! It's a point-and-click ability when he's playing Sejuani. It's another kill for free for FlyQuest, as immediately the response from BLG, they have to use a TP to get Knight away.
That is the North American MVP right there, boys. Inspired doing so much work this game. He's only missed out on participating in a single kill in the entire game right now, 4-0-6 on the Sejuani.
Okay, the gold lead is 3,000. Vedius, we talked about this the last time we casted. Look at the flowers, 9-31. Whenever your team is up by about 20 flowers or so, you're about to have roughly 2,500 extra adaptive force in unseen gold. So if you add that on top of the 3K, it's a 5,000 gold lead in effective stats for FlyQuest.
I mean, FlyQuest is in a fantastic position. They've responded to the aggression from BLG very well. They haven't been sucked into the chaos. And while I was a little bit concerned because they were losing out on farm and experience, they pretty much neutralized that disadvantage. And now with the dragon spawning in 5 seconds, they don't care about that. They just want more control. They want more picks.
Yeah, On is in some danger here. Has to try to get away, but Whippo's ready to follow it up. Goes for the Infernal Chains. On! There's not enough clones to get away from that Aatrox. Whippo picks up his 3rd kill of the game. FlyQuest have a 5v4 for the next 20 seconds.
FlyQuest is looking to put a blemish on On's record on this champion.
Oh, nice pullback of the max range. Infernal Chains. Knight gets away, though, staying safe from that extra bit of damage coming through from FlyQuest, as they do want to put the pressure onto the tier 2 turret here in the mid lane. Beishuang going to get rooted up there by Busio. A lot of damage here on the front line, but Knight goes between worlds, and the bullet time's doing a lot of work on Whippo's health bar. BLG holds the line at their tier 2, but the dragon is up, and FlyQuest are heading back towards that part of the rift. Knight's in some danger, as he does manage to use the flash to escape the glacial prison.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very strong 4-1 split push. They had Quad on the bottom side as well, working away on that tower, and they're going to steal away the blue buff as on top of it. Let's see, wait, dragon approach. They're going to try and force their way in.
That blue buff steal was very important. Quad and Masu, both at below half mana, has now been here on the front line, just getting shredded by Masu and Whippo. BLG trying to regroup. Keep your eyes on On. We'll see if this Nico can find a big Pop Blossom. His flash cooldown is almost ready to go. Inspired here on the front line. On goes in. He finds the Pop Blossom on Masu. FlyQuest AD carry is still alive, and he's trying to get away as Whippo wants to peel. Masu stays alive. Whippo here on the front line, but he's all alone. Quad firing damage into the health bars, but the shutdown goes over to On's Nico. Knight continuing to try to look for Masu, seeing if maybe he can try to pick him off. Quad and Busio still healthy, firing their skill shots towards BLG, trying to buy a little bit more time to keep BLG away from Soul Point. Masu's going to go ahead and recall. Inspired is making his way back out onto the map as Busio marks Knight and finds him with the Q inside the pit. Ben blocking, trying to just get in the way of all the skill shots from Quad, and the Dragon and Soul Point are secured by BLG.
The damage still comes through, though. Bin gonna be rooted up.
been pretty tanky, though, if the only damage is the support to jungler and Quad's to Leah, but he's not tanky enough. Quad goes on a killing spree, and Elk's the next target. He uses the cleanse to try to use the blast cone to get away, but Quad jumps in right on top of him. Knight wants to fire back, and it makes it a 1-for-1. A double for Quad, but it's ended by Elk. Now, Knight tries to get away too. He goes between worlds. It's enough to get him out of there. Lucio's low, but Beishwan can't finish the job. Whipple's ready to spread his wings and run forward, and Masu has rejoined the battle. Beishwan's locked up, and FlyQuest wants more blood. On's about to drop right next to his jungler, and FlyQuest is racking up a body count.
Props to FlyQuest for recognize they can extend that play again. And yes, BLG are able to get their dragon eventually, but all of this harassment and damage, delaying the play, and then making the chase down with the Karma and the Talia. They find the extra kills and they get some counter back.
Boys, we are firmly in the mud. Okay, this was such an extended play.
Slugfest.
The dragon ends up being secured, and this is what you are highlighting, Kobe. The fact that Inspired comes back out onto the map. Bin doesn't really have a way to escape from this situation because all of his tools have been used, and so FlyQuest begin the chase. After they take the front line down, the rest are soon to follow. Nice ultimate from Quad to be able to close that gap onto Elk, and then the chase just continues to come through. What was crazy about this sequence is, if you go all the way back, FlyQuest was throwing ultimates, trying to engage onto the mid-tier 2. That's where I thought they had overextended, because BLG realized they've used too many tools here, we can contest them on the dragon. They push FlyQuest back, but then the exact same play happens in response. And I think FlyQuest could have made a play for the Baron, but they were hungry for kills.
All right, Ben and Knight gonna find Whippo here with the Brox is on, goes for the engage. It's a catch under Quad. FlyQuest mid laner was about to die, but he kiked it out and kills on instead. Beishwan and Knight get the job done, and Quad's gonna be traded, but FlyQuest still looks to continue the scrap. Everybody else on BLG still standing tall, but a Root ready to come out forces the ulti out of Ben. He doesn't get a lot of distance, but he does get away for now. Masu still firing Mystic shots as BLG regroup under the tier 1 turret. The fact that this is still standing prevents what could be an even more extended fight.
Yeah, it's just a 1-for-1 in the end. Quad does go down after getting the counter kill there on to the squishy Nico. These Bash brothers of Inspired and Whippo, though, that front line is terrifying in the chase down, especially when sped up by the Karma. And Inspired, not having died a single time, has fully racked up his bounty right now. So if BLG can actually take him down, that is, well, it just ticked down. Actually, the bounty just dropped, but it was almost 1,000 gold there as it drops very rapidly. Thank you, Riot Games. Drop that.
You know, gentlemen, I made a mistake. It was foolish of me to think, coming into a series where two teams want to fight, that Whippo wouldn't be equipped for the challenge. He is the man that says,
I'll accept your apology. I'll accept your apology.
And you can just see it in the gameplay. Inspired and Whippo on the front line, ready to match the aggression of BLG. Right now, it's Whippo sitting on a side lane, really reaching that raid boss status. Elk in a bit of danger.
Yeah, you can see Masu's Mystic shot with all of the cooldown reduction that he has. Just has no cooldown, but there, Quad gonna be caught out again, but he gets himself away. Now bullet time is down. Now the ulti from the Aurora's not ready either. Inspired jumps in, BLG retreating. Whippo coming around on the flank as Ben is gonna be stunned up here on the front line. There's the tank for BLG running away with almost no HP left to play with. Inspired catches Beishwan, and Masu's ready to follow. Whippo chasing on the back end of the fight, and he stabs Beishwan through the heart. First kill over to FlyQuest there as Elk has to run. Masu and Quad still firing, and FlyQuest have killed the enemy jungler. They put the enemy support on his last legs, and they're heading over to the Baron.
They've got to go start it up, Flowers. The FlyQuest war machine here does not stop. The Sejuani and Aatrox front line here, chasing them down with the constant speed ups from the Karma. Inspired holding his ultimate so they can actually get the chase down kill on a particular target. You mentioned it, take out the enemy smite, and they're gonna get that Baron.
FlyQuest can't afford to waste any more time though, because they've got to get back to base. The dragon spawning in 18 seconds. BLG on Soul Point are not looking to give this objective up.
Exactly. This is what BLG have earned through their early control over the objectives, through that last dragon fight that they stuck around and managed to secure. If they can get this, the Ocean Soul will be huge, especially against the poke of Masu and Quad.
Watch out Quad's positioning here. That Talia has no flash. He could be vulnerable. The Seraph's shield is about to come back off cooldown for for him, though, if they can delay, and they actually have good positioning on the Dragon.
Okay, last cone still up for now. Bin looking to go for the decimating smash. Knight wants to get away, but Bwipo is on the punt. He's immediately going to chase after Knight, forces him down to about 10% HP, and the flash is already gone from the BLG mid. Now Bin's about to get stunned up, and he uses the ulti to buffer through the Sejuani CC. Bwipo continuing to pose a threat here on the sidelines as FlyQuest have taken control of the bot side river. They're going to secure the Drake.
Bwipo knows his job well. Constantly we see him going to attack this Aurora, attack the attempted flanker to take out the threat. If he can exchange his ultimates and go 1-for-1 on ultimate cooldowns there with an Aurora, it is a big benefit to the rest of the team.
On wanted to stick around, see if he could steal that team-wide blue buff away. Does get away from being potentially caught there. FlyQuest pushing onto the tier 2.
Critically, Knight saved his ultimate, so maybe they want to go for a counterplay.
Inspired jumping in there. Elk takes a ton of damage. True Shot Barrage nearly kills him off. Elk's got to go all the way back to the fountain, and FlyQuest are kicking in the front door. Bottom lane tier 3 turret destroyed. Inhibitor is the next target. FlyQuest will clean up both before BLG are able to regroup and respond.
I was worried, but FlyQuest continue to prove my doubts wrong. They fight so effectively. They shepherd BLG exactly where they want them to go. With the Baron, they've broken into the base of BLG, and now all of the pressure is on BLG to find a Miracle Wombo combo, but they have made some incredible plays on the quad and have just not had the damage to kill him. With the Seraphs, with the shielding provided by Busio, they need so much damage just to get a single kill to win out on a team fight. I feel like BLG just don't have the damage to beat this FlyQuest comp anymore.
And Vedius, this FlyQuest team, they have stuck together for so long. Through last year, they really built up a lot of synergy through last year's Worlds, and it does show in how quickly they go for these plays. Right now, they're actually going into a 4-1 split push. Bwipo's even coming a little bit behind on mid lane, a little bit delayed, but with the Baron buff, they should be able to close in on the BLG base.
And we have perfect vision. We know that it was only 3 FlyQuest players there, but the amount of respect being given over by BLG as they retreat, knowing that one more bad fight is just the end of the game. FlyQuest have the time to take out the tier 2 in the top lane. The gold lead extends to 9,000. The catch again from Inspired as On dies before he can find anything. There's your clutch factor. There's your Pop Blossom gone for the next 30 seconds.
FlyQuest, they're looking to take another tower. They're looking for the Nexus towers. They're looking to take game 1 of this series.
FlyQuest onto the second inhibitor here in mid lane. Quad also clearing the minions out from bottom as the super minions are about to start flowing in. Knight in some danger, has to try to get himself away from this, but he's already lost half HP. Wave crashing into the tier 3 turret top. That last inhibitor will not last long. FlyQuest using Masu and Bwipo to put the damage into that while everyone else applies the poke, harassing towards BLG as they defend at their Nexus turrets. Bin's in the front line and On's back alive. BLG have their 5-man defense, but FlyQuest are undeterred. They'll keep the minion waves dying on spawn as they keep finding the pressure. On goes the engage, but there's no follow-up.